She's a wonderful woman. I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But she ain't no Elon.
She also brought us Dr. Oz and the Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I freak for her, but I mean, cut the The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
Well, you just...
Oh, you don't believe?
You don't believe?
Believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
If you hear Oprah's name, you probably think of kindness, wisdom, and free cars. Prepare to have Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan go on a truth-seeking frenzy and steamroll that picture. It's shocking that Rogan is ditching blunts, Megyn cutting, through the fairy dust of the media. And Oprah looks like her book club was abruptly terminated in the middle of a sentence. What did they say that turned the meticulously manicured kingdom of talk show queen on its head? Hold on tight. Compared to an Oprah couch confession with no commercial interruptions, this takedown is more juicy.
Love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gold. You know, before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah would be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came, and I was like, oh my, she is not a reporter, she's a propaganda.
Imagine being perplexed by simple common sense when surrounded by a mound of jade eggs, kale smoothies, and 27 different spiritual advisors. Welcome to the pinnacle of Oprah Winfrey's business, where any issue can be resolved with a vision board quotation and intuition takes the place of facts. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly not only questioned that enterprise, but they also transformed it into a burning crater of overhyped self-help drivel.
Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady,
I know.
you're rich as like that equal. And also when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
I mean, it's a bunch of rich people talking about rich.
Rogan didn't show up with a vengeance. No, Megyn Kelly arrived with a flamethrower marked responsibility, and he arrived with a steel chair marked rationality. Tossing a TED lecture into a wood chipper was analogous. Let's start with Oprah's wonderful cult. She has been the best emotional GPS in the country for years, but hers doesn't have a satellite link. It just exhorts you to believe in yourself, and then crashes directly into traffic. We all gave a collective clap. We purchased the books. We sipped the expensive health Kool-Aid that was laced with pseudoscience and moon water.
One of the more I want to say disturbing, but confusing when that was taking hold with people. I had friends that were telling me Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would. There's a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs, they put pictures of the things that they wanted, like them in front of large crowds and shit. I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not...
After a long look at Oprah's kingdom, however, Joe Rogan, America's favorite cage-fighting philosopher, said, "So, no one's going to talk about how this is a high-functioning con game with glitter." Megyn Kelly, who had been waiting her whole career to call out Kino's bullshit, jumped in headfirst, wearing heels and taking off her jewelry. Let's converse inanely. They chose, polished, and promoted Dr. Oz, Oprah's very own Franken-scientist, until one day he crawled out of the lab and attempted to run for office like a sentient Whole Foods aisle. Rogan lifted the lone eyebrow to such a height that it created its own orbit. "Is this the man you like?" he almost yelled. The man promoting raspberry ketones, as if it were a Wakanda super serum.
Interview?
No.
She's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about
Into
it.
fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner.
I did not know that.
And I thought that breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
When was the last time Oprah actually spent time out with a working class person in America. She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was.
And then there is Dr. Phil, the Southern fried, motivational tycoon who has a degree in whatever it is that Oprah claims I am. Kelly didn't hold back. You launched a couch therapist whose biggest claim to fame is yelling at teenagers on daytime TV, she essentially declared, holding up a mirror to Oprah. Do you mean that you brought it into the public limelight after someone told cancer sufferers they just needed to feel better? By raising the standard of journalism, Megyn did more than merely raise an eyebrow. Think Your Way Out of Poverty was marketed by this lady to those who needed policy rather than encouragement. The fact that Oprah remade herself as this moral authority is even more amazing, as if she were America's living conscience. She is only aware of inflation when she raises the cost of her tea candles. Those are genuine, too.
Yeah, so let's think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006,
Nice.
okay. So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the fuck do you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. That's a book that sold, I think I was reading, it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million copies.
Wow.
Is that what it says, yeah?
Jeez.
Rogan leans forward as if he were about to reveal the last boss, secret just when you think they're finished. Although Oprah believes she is immune to media prejudice, her whole career is a masterful example of well-crafted emotional manipulation. All it has are lighted candles and cashmere cloaks. Kelly is nodding so intensely that it seems like her skull could explode. She is not only prejudiced, the prejudice is her. A lady who turned sobbing on order into an empire created a moral theater that was softly lit, audience clapping, and filtered by a sob tale. And let's not even discuss Oprah's spiritual favorites. You have Deepak Chopra giving comments so ambiguous they could double his horoscopes, and Eckhart Tolle babbling about gifts like a man who lost his own name.
Messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's real. So, you remember she did that kind of factual interview after the documentary of Michael Jackson?
Yes.
That was so dishonest.
Yes.
She did not raise any of the accusers' serious compromising facts when she had them right there. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. But as a journalist, you have to at least ask. You know, multiple lawsuits against his estate, sir. Might that be an incentive to lie?
Rogan almost toppled over his seat. This lady somehow persuaded others that it was enlightenment and established a franchise on nebulous rubbish. Megyn essentially exploded with spiritual fervor. Oprah has sold inner peace to people like it's a bath bomb for decades, but she has never once addressed the real policy failures that cause pain in the real world. Furthermore, we shouldn't assume that her impact stops at her TV number. She appears in foundations, documentaries, and podcasts. Her brand of mystic capitalism has essentially been franchised. Oprah has another wing erected to her estate every time someone ignores rent, burns a scented candle, and writes in a gratitude notebook. Joe Rogan continued to blink in shock. This lady built a fortune by advising others to follow their instincts, even if they were completely incorrect.
These accusations against him. You had a book that you were supposed to produce about Michael Jackson in the context of litigation where you were required to turn this stuff over. You lied saying that you didn't have it and you only got found out. Random House and these other publishers admitted you shopped it to them and turned over the metadata to Michael Jackson's estate. This guy, my point is simply, this one accuser was very compromised and she had it right after the documentary. It aired on HBO right after. Didn't ask a question. Then she gets Meghan Markle. That was another problem.
Correct. It's no longer intuitive after a while. It's simply denial and gas. And the story of weight reduction. God, please. Kelly almost went beyond with her snark. Are you telling me that a lady who has spent decades advocating for body acceptance is suddenly marketing weight loss medications as if they were a brand new skincare product?
My point is coming from the other way. She had the accusers there, and the accusers may or may not have had experience with Michael Jackson.
Oh, you're talking about the HBO doc?
Yes.
Yes.
But she failed to bring up prior inconsistencies in their stories that really did compromise their stories. I don't know what happened.
I understand what you're saying.
So
Okay,
I'm just saying, as a journalist, which she purports to be,
right,
it was a complete fail.
Right.
And then she committed the same failure with Meghan Markle,
Yes.
where she didn't press any of her claims of racism in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the ultimate culmination of her journalism.
Did she discover a better sponsor or self-love? You are a hater because you doubt her. You're not aligned when you analyze her brand. However, Rogan and Kelly were not on the same page. After attacking and exposing the empire of motivational grift, they departed, leaving a trail of smoke in their wake. Rogan and Kelly weren't only blaming one another. In a house of fantasy, they were tearing down the facade as if it were cheap wallpaper. There was a full-fledged self-help Ponzi scam with candles below all that shiny wood and vision board glitz. Oprah didn't establish a reputation. She developed a set of beliefs that support her product line and profit. Additionally, the hypocrisy is delicious. Here's a lady who encourages you to be who you really are while being shot in very dim lighting that requires a permission.
Sort of saying it's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she's probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah who's constantly down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long, and then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, and she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind the weight loss.
Slip. She operates behind so many layers of public relations that the Pentagon seems transparent, all the while selling weakness in mass. Rogan was incredulous. He mumbled, almost astonished by the industrial-level curation. She's got more security around her image than Fort Knox does for gold. Kelly didn't flinch. Oprah's spin game is exceptional, and she recognizes it when she sees it. She talks about emotional recovery while standing barefoot
in like the 1980s, and she was fresh out of Chicago. She was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show. She was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss Fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now in Ozempic, Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is cleansed, elite, billionaire version who wants to scrub
in a meadow. She may be seen crying about injustice one moment, then smiling on a magazine cover in a $12,000 coat and discussing tyranny from her vineyard the next. There was just precise takedown intensity in her face, not even a twitch. Why not? More. Politics. Less literature. You can influence elections, so why stop at healing souls? Rogan was blown away. She promoted Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, and now she's acting as a political kingmaker. We are left with the unvarnished reality once Oprah's business is dissected layer by layer like an expensive onion with a branding contract. Awakening yours was never the point.